Have you ever heard that old adage, aim for the stars, and if you miss, you'll hit the moon? That's probably the worst motivational meme I've heard. That's basically implying aim for something further away knowing you won't hit it, and thus you're creating a habit of setting and not achieving goals. So the goal is to think bigger, think beyond where you are, but instead of aiming for the stars and hitting the moon, can we aim for the moon and hit the moon? Today we'll be talking about how to think bigger, how to visualize, how to stretch your mind, but visualization not only rhymes with this word, but it goes hand in hand with this word, which is mobilization. Think it and then do it. So it's a combination of stretching your mind and putting in the action to get it done. So with that said, let's get right into it. Here's the one thing to remember before we get started today, that once a mind is stretched from its original form, it never returns to its original dimensions again. So the goal here is to stretch your vision. Look beyond where you are right now and think big, but be able to act small and execute and mobilize towards the goals that you're visualizing. So it's important to start with the definitions of both visualization and mobilization. Visualization is the formation of a mental image or desired result. Mobilization is the action of making something movable or capable of movement. So I want to tell you a quick story about Jim Carrey. Not the Jim Carrey we all know right now, the one that played in movies like Dumb and Dumber, The Cable Guy, Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, Sonic the Hedgehog, and many, many more. But Jim Carrey started out living in his van as a struggling Hollywood actor. And when he would sleep in his minivan every night with his best friend, his dog, he would have a check taped up to the ceiling of his minivan. And that check was handwritten for $10 million, paying to the order of Jim Carrey. And every single night when he went to bed, that was the last mental image he saw. And every morning when he woke up, that was the first image that he saw to start his day. He actually talked about this story on Oprah as well. And through the power of manifestation and repetition, you know, the first big breakout role that he had, we all remember, in Ace Ventura, Pet Detective. What's ironic is he had a $10 million check paid to the order of Jim Carrey for rendering services, meaning acting, and he was focusing on getting that payout, which he did, and more, on his first breakout role in Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, which was exceeding an 8-figure $10 million check. Now you might think, well, that's a great story, but maybe that's just coincidence. Well, I encourage you to consider maybe it's not a coincidence. Maybe visualization does actually work. And like Jim Carrey says, you can't just visualize and then go eat a sandwich. It's a structured, consistent, intentional activity and exercise that needs to be done every day. Because like Napoleon Hill says, what the human mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve, and Jim Carrey is a great example of that. I know what you're thinking. Is visualization real? Here's my suggestion to you. You need to start developing an Olympic state of mind. What does that mean? Does that mean just a champion mindset, having elite behaviors, striving to be the best and competing in the marketplace? What that means is for decades now, they've used visualization in sports, specifically Olympics as well. Let me tell you a quick story. A few decades ago, they took a dozen Olympic athletes and they stripped them down to their undergarments. And they connected a bunch of sophisticated biofeedback equipment. The best image I can give you is like when 50 Cent had that video in the club, he had his shirt off and he was running on the treadmill with all these devices patched onto his stomach and chest. What that does, that biofeedback equipment, it would measure the muscle frequency. And what would happen is they would get all of these athletes to run their events physically, and they would measure the muscle frequency. Almost immediately after, they would get the athletes to sit down, go into a deep state of meditation and visualization, and imagine running their events. And what would happen? The muscle contractions wouldn't be the same intensity, but it was the same frequency and sequence. And ironically, every single muscle fired in the same sequence mentally as it did physically. So what does that all mean? That imagining, if you get into a deep state of visualization, imagining doing something and actually doing something gives your body the same muscle frequency and same chemical reaction. So you have to get very good at starting to think things into existence. Also, you need to remember that you have to visualize to actualize. Why? Because everything in business and in life is built 2 times. The first time is in your mind, in your imagination. The second time is in the physical world, reality. Because what's invisible becomes part of the visible world. Same way your roots, just like a tree, create the fruits, you have to build it in your mind, and then you have to actually go build it. So it starts with visualization repetitiously every day. So you're working towards this ideal outcome, this image, this moment, this end result that you want for yourself to achieve. You know, a lot of times people don't really aim and they just try to execute. Just like I talked about in the Rhino rules, planning without attacking is pointless. Attacking without planning is aimless. So what does that mean? That if you aim at nothing, you will hit nothing. Yes, the universe is a big dream machine. Ask and you shall receive. Most people don't know how to ask. What are you aiming at? Not what are you shooting at. What are you aiming at? Because that's the 3-step process. Aim, shoot, fire. And if you follow that same sequence, you're going to get more of what you want. If all you do is shoot and miss and try to shoot again and then miss and there's no aiming, what would happen is that you're constantly aiming at a target that you're not defining. The goal here is if you want to get precision, if you want to be able to execute and make your dreams become a reality, you have to get very clear on that direction of what you're aiming towards and start visualizing that into motion. You know, one of the things I've always said when it comes to mobilization is if you are casual, here's what will happen. You will become a casualty. There's nothing casual about me. The way I operate in my business, the way I operate in my life, the way I operate with my family, the way I operate in all categories in my life. Maybe you're too casual about your business or your faith. Maybe you're too casual. That's why you become a casualty. So the goal is, I know it rhymes, but it's important, and there's a significant message, is you slay the day. You're mobilizing every day, working towards a worthwhile ideal and goal that you planned out, that you aimed at, and you're working towards. So I guess what I'm saying is this. You have to figure out how to go from a state of urgency and declare a state of emergency. So what you need to do is collapse time frames, and compress activity. See, the work is the work, which is the work, and a lot of people shy away from the work. Like Gary Vee says, everybody wants to hang out at the finish line, but nobody wants to run that race. If you're serious, not curious, if you're serious about business, if you're serious about entrepreneurship, if you're serious about winning for your family, and like my great mentor Ed always says, winning is more fun than fun is fun. That's why it's important to be able to have equal parts of visualization, mobilization, think bigger than where you are today, but always remember, think big, but act small. As always, subscribe to our channel. We have a lot more content coming out these upcoming weeks, and I'm excited to continue building this connection, to continue building this community and this camaraderie of world-class entrepreneurs, this elite community that all of you are pioneers in developing this along with me. So I'll see you next time, and as always, charge forward.